Again, I follow this stuff religiously. I knew what was going to happen going into it. I'm familiar with the influences that they were going for. I've read a lot of mid 2000s to mid 2010s comics. I have read Tom King's The Vision miniseries and all that.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Tyler with TLC Reviews. Welcome to another video. We got a very special episode for you today. I'm going to be joined by Jack Metcalfe. He is the host of the Is This Anime podcast. He's a Marvel enthusiast and a comic fanatic. He's going to provide a lot of insight into Wandavision, which I finally started watching, and this show is phenomenal. But we got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. I'm kind of glad also that I waited until, a few episodes had gone by, because I cannot imagine having to wait week after week, because they're short little episodes and you're just like, I want to know what is going to happen, especially now in the very beginning when it starts as a freaking American sitcom.
I didn't expect them to take it that far. I think that was the thing. I didn't realize we'd have basically 3 full episodes in sitcom land. I thought it was going to be more cross-cutting throughout those first 3 at least.
If you were directing these episodes, because I know you have a bit of a film background, how would you have changed this?
I think we're used to the Marvel movie structure, which is that they're movies. So if this were a movie, if this were a 2-hour, maybe 2-hour and 15-minute movie, this would have been the first 15, 20 minutes. These whole 3 episodes.
Oh, really?
And I think that's what we're kind of used to.
Yeah.
I think this would have been like a cold open effectively. And then it would have cut to the events of, episode 4 maybe. Or maybe it'd be the first act or something. But again, I mean, we haven't even finished the second act, because this is a 9-episode miniseries, and we just finished watching episode 5.
I was not interested in this show at first,
I tried pushing it for you, and you were just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, no, we got to do this.
I remember when I saw the trailer, and I'm just like, this looks so stupid. It's nothing against black and white, but the fact that they were going back in the past and it was supposed to be a sitcom, I'm like, it's 2020. I don't see this being very popular. But then I started hearing some really good things about it. And yeah, it is worth taking the time to really get into it, And
even for me, I was getting antsy by episode 3. I won't lie. By episode 3, with the whole 70s antics, I was like, okay, I kind of want them to get to the point already. And then episode 4 they do, and then episode 5 is just a perfect episode of television, in my opinion.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think for one thing, and this is me kind of jumping ahead, but I think the lack of appeal, and I think I remember about this talking to you just on Messenger, was that no one gave about Scarlet Witch and the Vision. Listen, if you're gonna list your Avengers, I mean, it goes obviously the core 6, and then it goes probably Falcon, and then you probably get the Guardians, because let's face it, they're Avengers too. But Wanda and Vision, man, let's be real, bro. They're at the bottom of the barrel.
I forgot what Wanda's powers were before watching this.
Bro, I've seen these movies with friends. I've seen them with my mom, my best friends. I've seen them with people of various degrees of comic book knowledge. And with the exception of my one diehard friend, my co-host, Malcolm McLeod, everyone else is like, wait, who are these people? Anytime they popped up on screen, it's like, wait, who's the red girl? Who's the robot guy? What's up? Why are they in love? I don't get it. And their screen time was minimal, especially after Age of Ultron, which was their debut.
So I'm really gonna show my nerd light side here, but I don't remember even seeing them as a couple or even remotely romantically interested. Did that even happen in the MCU?
It was very forced. I mean, this is the MCU trying to hew to comics canon, and sometimes it works organically and sometimes it doesn't. I think with Wanda and Vision, I love the MCU movies. I think they're great. They're enjoyable, man. But I think this was definitely one of the weaker aspects of that stuff. And again, it fell to the wayside. They didn't have a ton of screen time past Age of Ultron. I mean, they're in Captain America Civil War, and then Wanda has her little arc hiding away with Vision, but the connection isn't really that clear in Civil War. Like, again, I mean, like they didn't set them up properly, which is why it's kind of funny how well this works in this show. I'm shocked at how well it works.
But if you were to state what your favorite Marvel movies are, what would you say? What is your top 3?
I mean, I know Joss Whedon isn't doing well in the news today, but the first Avengers movie, I think that movie's perfect. I think it's a perfect movie, man. I mean, I know the CGI's, there have been better movies and stuff. I think Endgame is great, but like there's Avengers has like a perfect screenplay. Like for what it did, like when people are like, how do you set up 6 superheroes in one movie? And they did it to massive success. We wouldn't have the superhero boom if this movie didn't land. For better or worse, I know plenty of people who would have been happy if that movie flopped.
I remember the first time seeing that in theaters, I was blown away just by the action spectacle and the special effects on screen. I personally think the reason it was successful was the chemistry of all the actors, the chemistry of all the characters. Loki, everybody likes a villain. Everybody does. So him and his relationship with Thor, I personally feel like that was the selling point of that movie in the end.
It had something for everyone. I mean, every cast member other than Hawkeye really felt served. Even Jeremy Renner will admit he was not happy with Hawkeye in the first Avengers movie. But you know what? It's a great movie. Like straight up, man. It made $1.5 billion. Previous Marvel films like Iron Man and Thor and Captain America, I think some of them are quite good. I think Iron Man and Captain America are very good movies on their own. But I don't think people were really excited about Marvel in the way that they were, say, about Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movies. I mean, even me, man, I was more excited for Dark Knight Rises. I thought that movie was going to beat Avengers ass. And so it's interesting because I think another interesting thing about WandaVision is that this movie was not intended to be the first Marvel thing we saw in 2020 or, 2021. We were going to see Black Widow. And then, of course, COVID happened. And then COVID continued to happen. And Black Widow was still not out. We were supposed to get Falcon and the Winter Soldier in August of 2020. That did not finish shooting because of the pandemic. We were supposed to see the Eternals. That got pushed back. That is now November of 2021 instead of November 2020. And yeah, WandaVision was intended, based on the schedule, to be the 4th Marvel thing we saw of this new phase. So it's interesting that, again, this was not intended to be the introduction to this new era, this post-Endgame era. And this is like the weirdest introduction to the world, I'd say. This is not a conventional thing. This is not a familiar character. This is 2 characters we don't really care about, whose relationship is not super well defined. I mean, goddamn, man, Vision is a character who just continued to job throughout the Marvel series. I mean, he gets some cool moments as Age of Ultron. Wanda and other characters beat him up in Civil War, and then he gets killed by Thanos in Infinity War. Like, dude sucks. I mean, he's got cool powers. I like Paul Bettany. I like the character in theory, but dude has a bad track record.
I was never a fan of Vision. Every time he showed up, I'm just like, I don't care about you. Can you just go away? I like Paul Bettany as an actor. I think he's very talented, but I don't feel like Vision as a character. I think what you said about the fact that these are 2 characters that people don't really care about and they're throwing them together. People like things that are weird. People are intrigued by things that make them think, right? And so I feel like that easily got people to watch from the start.
And I think there's a lot to think about this. I mean, we're on episode 5, so we're at like literally the midpoint of the series, and there's a lot to discuss. I mean, the fact that is Wanda behind all of it? Why is she doing it? Like, she's suffering from trauma from Vision's death, of course. For her, Vision's death was like a week ago because of the whole timeline and the fact that she got blipped. That's a whole nother thing the show tackles. And again, like there's things about trauma, identity, the fact that, again, we had this big reveal in episode 5 where the Vision reveals he has no memory before this series starts. That is up. That is chilling and terrifying. That's a terrifying idea, especially in what's ostensibly a children's franchise.
It was a dark moment. Like, you start that show really liking Wanda, for who she is, but then you learn that it's like, oh, she may have done things that she probably shouldn't and erased Vision's memory. so to speak. And yeah, like I'm wondering, did she do all this? Because if she didn't, who are the other players in this game?
And I think certainly there are definitely other players. I think in episode 4, with the episode 4, which takes us back to the quote unquote real world and introduces us to Monica Rambeau, who, of course, if you saw Captain Marvel, she's the little girl in that movie, all grown up.
Yes.
Her mother has since passed away. Again, interesting ideas, because she re-blipped the idea that, you know, she was waiting for her mom, and her mom did survive the blip, but then in the 5 years since the blip, she died. I think that's an incredibly interesting idea. I just think the show is just what it's doing with this like post-endgame future and not hitting. It's not quite hitting the reset button. The blip happened. It's affected characters. It will continue to be referenced at least throughout the years until Galactus eats Earth. I have no goddamn idea. But you know what I mean. I like the fact that like these things that we didn't think would have stakes, they do have stakes. It's affecting characters. It's affecting people we will meet in the future to come.
No, you were mentioning Monica Rambeau and her mom and everything in the 5 years since the blip. I liked that because it added an element of realism. Like if we actually did live in this MCU world, that could have actually happened. So in a way, you can kind of relate to her.
Exactly. It's a human element, and it's also a reason for her joining SWORD and getting into this whole mess. And I think that brings us to just another thing. You know, I love the fact that they brought back Jimmy Woo. I love the fact that his card trick pays off, which again, these folks at Marvel are mad lads. I don't think like,
dude,
they wrote in a chalkboard. I don't think they wrote in a chalkboard 6 years ago saying Jimmy Woo will practice his card trick. But I think, you know, they take things that exist and they pluck them, and that's just good writing.
Did you notice that right away when it happened?
I did not. I saw it on Twitter, okay. But that's the point of these Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I don't have to do the work. Twitter will do it for me.
Oh, it's great. It's absolutely hilarious. And the fan service that they offer is just awesome. And I think he's a great character. And I'm excited to see him, you know, progress and everything through this series. Speaking of progression, though, at the end of episode 5, we got a visit from Quicksilver, the original Quicksilver.
When that happened, again, I'm a super nerd. I watched this at midnight when it aired. I will watch the next episode definitely at midnight when it airs, based on what's happened. I'm really glad I didn't, because again, my Twitter is very pop culture focused, and that would have definitely been spoiled for me if I woke up at 8 a.m. and watched the episode. So I'm glad. No, and when I saw that happen, I'm like, you know, expletive. And it's funny, my buddy had texted me a week ago prior to that episode airing. He's like, oh, I hear Quicksilver, Evan Peters' Quicksilver might be back. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it'll be a one-off joke. Maybe it'll be, I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, and I didn't believe him, to be honest. The fact that he has appeared, and it's an episode as early as episode 5, the fact that we'll have 4 more episodes to deal with this, which again, first of all, her brother is dead. Second of all, her brother is played by an actor who is a better actor in a different movie franchise who played that same character. Yeah. There's a lot of 4D chess going on. And I think it's brilliant. I mean, I've read plenty of theories. Some people think he is not the Fox Quicksilver. Maybe he isn't. Maybe he is a creation of some sorts from another force. The comics nerd speculation is that it's a character called Mephisto who is behind all this. I don't know. I'm familiar with the character of Mephisto. When Peter Parker, when Aunt May died, he wanted to bring her back. So Mephisto was like, "You have to give me your marriage to Mary Jane to bring Aunt May back." And it was a very convoluted way for the Spider-Man editorial team to basically just say, "We feel Peter Parker being married makes him too old for readers." So they had him sell his marriage to the devil, which, you know, I don't think that's a Peter Parker move.
That's the Spider-Man.
Because Mephisto is Marvel Devil.
Oh my God.
Maybe Zendaya will be written out of the universe in a couple movies to come.
Yeah, maybe. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I don't know, but I think definitely Mephisto is a major Marvel villain. He would fit well with the Doctor Strange world. We do know that Wanda will appear in Doctor Strange 2. Loki's also rumored to appear in there. And Doctor Strange 2 is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And so guess what we're dealing with? We're dealing with some multiverse stuff here. But not to get a sidetrack, I think that Quicksilver reveal is really interesting. I think there's many ways they can go down the route. Do they use that to incorporate mutants into the MCU, or is it a facade, or what else, or is it just Wanda's psyche creating something? But I definitely think it's an outside force, because I think we have had suggestions definitely that Wanda is not being Wanda. Wanda is not a villainous character that we've seen. I mean, she's suffering from trauma, obviously, with her robot boyfriend dying. Comics are weird,
That's
man.
one way to refer to him, yeah.
I guess he's actually robot husband now, so maybe boyfriend, yeah. Anyways, trying to respect their marriage. As you can see, they're really good friends of mine. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where this series goes. I think episode 5 is definitely the big one, but I think with 4 more episodes to go, and we knew how Star Wars was with The Mandalorian this past season, how they were with the surprises. So if Quicksilver is what they're dropping in the center, imagine what's going to happen at the end. Just in the interest of time, I think I'll just talk about some comic recommendations for those interested in kind of going into the influences of what WandaVision is, because I certainly believe Tom King's the Vision miniseries is highly recommended. It's definitely what the whole sitcom nuclear family thing was explicitly taken from that Tom King 12-issue Vision miniseries. Scarlet Witch is not a main character in that. She's a supporting in like flashbacks, but it's a series where Vision creates his own robot family to kind of live a perfect life. It does not go as planned. It was also written by a former CIA agent, Tom King. So that's always cool. The CIA agents are writing for Marvel and DC now. So yeah, I really recommend that series. It's really cool. And also definitely a House of M, which is probably Wanda's most infamous moment, which is where Wanda, in her grief due to, I won't say spoilers, in the event that this show does the same thing, something bad happens to Wanda, and she creates an alternate reality that affects the entire Marvel universe, where mutants are on top of the food chain. And then after Wolverine and some other characters ruin it all, she declares no more mutants, which is a famous comic moment. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. We now have Marvel TV shows that are significantly more connected than the Netflix and ABC shows. It's a good time to be a fan, man. Yeah, and before I go, I just want to say everyone should check out my podcast, Is This Anime, where I host it with my good buddy, Malcolm McLeod. Malcolm knows nothing about anime. I am a so-called anime expert, and every week I force Malcolm or a guest to suffer through an anime series. And that guest, in fact, Tyler, may be you in a future episode.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Everyone check it out. And follow me at OnlyRealJackM on Twitter. I get into Twitter fights with people all the time. So if you're not interested in following a volatile person, don't follow me. You will not have a good time, and you will probably want to block me.
So, thanks.
Being real.
Thank you, Jack.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. And I'm definitely excited to discuss more WandaVision, more MCU in the future.
Well, that's going to do it for the video. Thanks to Jack Metcalfe for joining me today on the show. You can check out his podcast, Is This Anime, down in the description below. We'll have a link for you to his podcast. And remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing if you like the content. Hit that like button below to help support the video as well. And I really hope to have more content like this in the future. It's always a lot of fun. Definitely give WandaVision a shot and stick with it if you haven't seen it. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm Tyler with TLC Reviews, and we'll see you next time.